here. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you for inviting me here, and it's really an honor to be part of this session, although it's early morning, but that's fine. Early morning for a Friday, of course. But anyway, it's really great to be here and for a good cause. Contributing in such a cause, it's really something I always, we are proud of to be part of this, and this is something I think not only me, but the whole nation, our country, we are supporting, and we hope and wish, inshallah, things will be much better. And with this kind of spirit, which I see Ibrahim and the team here, I think Kerala will take it, inshallah, to the next level. I think challenges like this always comes from up. That's something we out of our hand, and that's why I always keep saying that, which is in our influence we take care about, but actually which is out of our influence we take somebody else to take care of that. But we just need to put more efforts, put more prayer, inshallah, and things will be much better, inshallah. I would like to say something about Ibrahim, by the way. You see him very active here. He jumps around here and there. He's not like this at all. I was his boss for 3 years. And he is not like this. You know why? Because he is your supporter.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to pretty much say exactly the same as Jacinda said. It's an honour to be here, and very much appreciate you inviting me. Certainly the cause is fantastic, and so many people within our community in the UAE are witnessing firsthand the problems that Kerala face, so we're very happy and honoured to be here to help and support in any way we possibly can. And I very much wish that from the problems and the tragedies that in the future new heights and new levels are achieved for everybody. I was interested in many of those slides that you were showing earlier, and they are genuinely relevant to what we see on a daily basis, and I'm hoping that our conversation and our round table will enable us to get a little deeper into some of those, because I think pretty much across the board the answers are within us. We have the answers, we have the opportunities. Sometimes too many people keep quiet for too long, and too many people wait for that door to open. Sometimes it's best just to knock on the door. So I'm looking forward to the session. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Assalamu alaikum. As you can see, I am the only fit person on the So God challenges those who have the ability to stand it and fight against it. So I think Kerala was chosen, and I believe Kerala has the spirit to fight. I'd like to go back to just a few quick things. See, I'm a trainer by profession, so it's difficult to let go of the mic, so please pull it off. Sangeet and me suffer from this syndrome. So. Sangeet's one slide was about 20% of the people are not engaged in the, and that's very obvious from the fact that the artificial intelligence is ready to take over your lives. I've just made my son, who's 14 years, in the last summer break, go into a camp in India with no electronics, work in a village, do a couple of walkarounds in between two cities, do mountain climbing, and he had no device whatsoever. I wanted to challenge myself further, and I have a 6-year-old daughter who I also sent along with him for 15 days. So one did 45 days, one did 15 days. No contact with parents whatsoever. And I said to them, if you can beat the robot, this is the moment you can. Right? So please wake up to this call. It's a very scary call, because corporates are ready to replace you, and artificial intelligence is absolutely low cost, but it's a very high efficiency device if you like. In Singapore, there's an airport where they've built up a terminal 100% artificial intelligence supported, and the results that are coming out of there are fantastic. That's the scary part. Right? So I work in onboarding, and I do the onboarding from the passion that a person can never replace me with a robot. That's what I put into my job. Right? And that's what I expect from each one of you in this room. Please stand up to challenge. I just want to say one last thing for you. It's good to hear a clap, because in my kind of life, in my kind of home, I've never heard these compliments.
No, at work I do hear applause, because people are much more courteous, but at home I don't. So I would appreciate if that comes my way as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we have specific questions for the panel, for the expert panel, but I would like to restrict the number of questions to maximum. If any one of you are facing any particular challenges at work, I've got a bad boss, or I've got colleagues who don't support me, or my team doesn't help me, I don't get the budgets, I'm about to be fired, it's very tough to find a job, and all those, we'll have some time so you can address it to the right people. And these are people who take high-level decisions on a daily basis. So we call it as a group coaching session. So please feel free to ask questions, okay? I'm just facilitating this round. First question to Brother Jasim. Suppose you've got 10 employees doing the same thing, the same work, relatively same skills. And HR comes to you and says you have to fire 9 of them and retain only 1, 10%. And you have very little time. You can't go and dig into their past records and look at their qualifications and all that. You need to fire 9 today and retain only 1. You have a couple of hours to take a decision. What would you base your decision on, sir? How would you choose that one person that you would want to retain?
Do you recall that there was a skill a long time ago, maybe Amit remembers that, called typing skills? We used to go to the institutes, learn how to type. I've done that. I have a certificate on that, and it says 30 words per minute. Where is that skill now? And today, Amit and Sangeet were talking about AI, artificial intelligence, talking about digital algorithm and all that. This is another skill which is we just not sure what it is exactly and what it's going to do to us in the future. Now, having two these skills, knowing them, makes you think of something, that skills are needed for different time in our life, and skills keep changing. But what remains is that who we are, to adapt, to learn, to co-op with things around us. So the person who I would like to take or keep is the one who keeps learning, who has that ability to understand, the ability to learn more, to have always the passion, continue updating his knowledge and updating his skills. That's the answer could be.
Can I relate that directly to each one of us in the room? If you look at your CV today and compare it with the CV that you had 5 years back, was it a copy-paste job? Or have you pushed a lot of stuff out and have you put new stuff in? This is exactly the point. Are you continuously learning, unlearning and relearning on a daily basis? Because otherwise, anyone remembers what happened to the big fat TV when you got the slimmer one? What did you do? Threw it away. My wife forced me to sell it. So I had to go around selling it. So just imagine, we get pushed into the dustbins of history if we don't get onto a learning mode continuously with an appetite. The kind of look that we give towards a plate of mandi, I think that's what we need to have towards learning as well.
And out of this 10, and just to reply to your example, I mean, it's always that person shows. You find him always have that new thing. Keeps adding new thing in your in the plate, if you call it, in the discussions. Have that extra knowledge. So that person. And I think we all need to be that person who keeps on updating himself. Especially today. Today, access to the knowledge is not a problem, by the way. It's our problem is that to gear up and go and have access to that knowledge. While the information today, I used to say, never use go that information is power. Today I say information is scary. Actually, it's confusing because it's too much. Which one you don't want to really take and apply? So I think that's the answer for myself.
Yeah, we keep debating with Jasim, which says, a lot of people say knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power. You take knowledge and you apply it in a way that it is beneficial for your organization. That's power. Have we done that? So, 3 hotels, okay, and I've seen with my own eyes how we have turned those hotels around. If you really want to take a nice, lovely break, now that winter is coming our way, you should visit Oceanic at Corfacan. Amazing place, okay? And Oceanic today is very different from what it was a few years back. And this was the gentleman who was credited for turning it around. So, what would you do, sir, if you have to choose that Man Friday for yourself?
I think we've actually been in that situation a few times, and the relevance of the spine, I think it was half, 2 and 3. I worked for an organisation with one hotel, 600 bedrooms. It had 1,800 staff. This was the golden days. These were the days where the solution to every problem was hire more staff, then I think the relevance of the problems when markets were adjusting really started to come to play, and then they realised maybe between 50 and 60% of those staff were not engaged. So these slides are genuine and they are in our workplace today. So to answer the question, I think exactly we are going down the line where I look for people who are solution focused. To be solution focused, you need several skills. One of them is you must continually evolve. And in an industry which is possibly less likely to be fully automated and does rely on human interaction, I think we need to make sure that we have people who are educating themselves on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. People who are prepared to go further than the other person. If I'm really honest, we do face a huge amount of challenges in this industry with the younger generation coming to the workforce who literally their 9-hour shift, they're out the door. I cannot tell you how many 100-hour weeks I have worked. I cannot tell you, seriously. And that's just how it is. The people who are successful, in my opinion, are the determined ones, the ones who set themselves a target. One of my very first ever jobs, I was working as a ski instructor, and it was a synthetic slope and so on. And to earn extra money and to get knowledge into the industry I wanted to work in, I became, after that, I worked as an ice cream dessert chef. So the shifts were long, but it paid the money, it gave me the experience. When I moved into the hospitality industry, one of the very first things I learned, I spent over 6 months working 2 days a week. One was my day off in the kitchens. And I can assure you, two of the hardest jobs in the hospitality industry is housekeeping and the kitchens. They are relentless, they are hard, and they're unforgiving. If you just imagine, every time that you go to a restaurant and you place your order for food, you expect it within 20 to 30 minutes maximum. There are hundreds of people behind the scenes making that happen, and 9 times out of 10 it's fresh. It should be fresh because that's what you're paying for. That just doesn't happen in a heartbeat. Another small example from the housekeeping phenomenon. In the UAE, we have this value for money perception. So if you arrive to your hotel, you would expect to arrive, whilst the check-in is maybe 3 o'clock, you tend to arrive at 12. Okay, that's something that happens in the UAE more than anywhere else in the world. However, as you arrive early, the person who's staying in that room thinks they'd like to have this regular checkout at 3. So the numbers don't work. Even as a chief executive and previously as a general manager, I've cleaned rooms. We've had guests in the lobby. And I tend to fall into 2 areas of work when we're back to back and we're really struggling. What I tend to do is either valet park cars, which it just clears the driveway and it means that we can keep flowing, or I go run linen or clean rooms because it enables our guests to get in. So I try and multi-skill as much as I can. I try and lead by example. So when it comes down to our 10 colleagues who are going into one, I look for someone who's similar. The modern youngsters coming into the industry have these very distracting traits where they spend half of their day on social media. They post, this is what I've done, this is what I'm doing. It's like, ladies, gentlemen, how about you do your job? Don't tell the world how busy you are by wasting my time. Okay, and if we are looking at the new generation where half of the workforce could be reduced, you're going to be looking at those guys. Yeah, I'm looking for the people who can do 2 or 3 or 4 jobs. That's what I'm looking for. I have had the opportunity in the past to work when, as the doctor said, I worked for the Jumeirah Group. I built a resort in the Maldives. And if ever there's a sensation of ownership, it's building a resort in the Maldives. At any one given time, you have to have an evacuation plan. A tsunami will come within half an hour. Okay? when I talk about having many skills, many hats, I'm a qualified ship's captain, okay? I can take a boat up to almost 100 foot and I can navigate it during daylight hours. I think that's an international global qualification. I have that because that was essential for the safety of the people in the Maldives on our island. That's a very diverse skill to have, okay? So when you have to consider all these options, if you're in the middle of the Maldives, you're 11 or 12 kilometers from any land, you have to have your own electricity, your own water, you have to have a desalination plant, you have to plan. But equally at the end of the shift, maybe a housekeeper will go and work in the front office, or a housekeeper will go and work as a waiter or a waitress. When you're looking for a supervisor 6 months down the road, you're looking for someone who knows those jobs thoroughly. And someone who can do 2 or 3 or 4 jobs, in my opinion, is always the one you're going to keep. Okay? I think today, if I can leave one message with everybody, we have to ensure that our youngsters and anybody who is considering career growth, they have to look at education. They have to continually improve the skills they have. You know, if you look at where we are today, everything is automated from a checking process. In the past, it used to be big metal keys in a book. That's the truth of it, yes? Now it's all digital. The technology exists to check in and enter the room using your mobile phone. So it is becoming more and more automated. However, it's people related. The more that we can get our colleagues to have a greater understanding of many, many jobs, and we can flex the manpower team to meet the needs of the guests, that's always going to be successful. So for me, it's going to be attitude, will and drive to be successful, the determination to actually be successful, and your ability to actually walk the talk and deliberate. This is why I'm more than happy to go park cars, clean rooms, serve food, and so on and so forth. Because if the chief executive can do it, I can't see any reason why everybody else in the organisation cannot do the same. So that's my short answer.
As someone in charge of human resources development, I think the key word that I've caught on from your inspiring discourse again is be solution oriented. It's not about saying my customers are dissatisfied, what are you doing about it? I've got a problem, two department heads are not speaking to one another, what are you doing about it? We've got a leak in the washroom, what are you doing about it? The projector is not working, what are you doing about it? The system that we use is outdated, what are you doing about it? So be a part of the solution, for which you have to roll your sleeves and be multi-skilled and come to the office with the point of making a difference. How many of us are really doing that? Okay. There's one thing I really am jealous about Amit here. He's got an amazing sense of humor. Okay, so he's got the uncanny ability of driving points in a way that it drives a lot of guffaws, and at the same time it hits your brain. Looking forward to that.
Let me just say this to you. Humor is a great tool, as long as you know the difference between being a joker and being a humorist. So, I've survived a lovely marriage for 22 years because I'm a humorist. I've survived 2 kids, a 14-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I play the United Nations between the 2 of them, peacemaker. Because the 6-year-old is asking, why does he get a tablet and I don't? And I'm trying to tell you, you are not yet there. So, you know, it's a balancing.
You do the same thing with mother-in-law.
Yeah, that's a painful moment. My humor converts to a tumor when she's so I'm glad our spouses are not here. To be on a serious note, to answer the question, if you heard His Excellency, there's a powerful message. If you're a good learner, you've got a life. If you heard Ian, that's the one I won't fire. He's spoken about everything that you want to look at an ideal employee. So if you heard him carefully, you've got those skill sets that you want to build. Right? In my opinion, there are 2 little things that I certainly look at. 1, I will put down these 10 letters in front of the people and say, I'm sorry, that's a bad news, you've got to move on. I will pick up the one who picks up the letter first willingly. Because that's the person who's adaptive.
Whoa!
So as an HR person, I've learned to think outside the box. When I'm told there's redundancy, I never use the word redundancy. When there's a layoff, there's no layoff. I always tell the people, now you're ready for the next journey in your life? And that's where you are. So certain things you can control, certain you can't. Organizations are shrinking, you can't. There's a global play happening around. So please remember, one, you should be a good learner, keep updating your skill sets. I have one difficulty in the current generation, like Ian rightly said. You guys are more dependent on looking at your strength externally and not internally. The strengths are internal, they're not external. Right? So imagine, if I'm humorous, that's a skill that's internal. I've built it as a strength for me. I've built it to the stage that people come and say, chatting with you makes life so much more easier. That's a big thing in my life, it's not a small thing. For something people say, oh, he's a funny guy. No, it's about engaging, power of engagement. So I would say your strengths are internal. So please don't go outside and start looking for strengths. Forums like these, which are very homely, very society driven, are a great tool to develop yourselves. Right? The other thing that I want to mention here is, if you are saying, who out of the nine would you let go? This is, it's very easy, it's very predictable. Because when you look at people, you know where they're headed for. And you know the one that you want to pick up. I used to use the word passion a lot, but unfortunately over the last few months, I realized it's difficult to explain passion to a certain category of people, especially at the operative level, who don't understand what passion is. So I've said to them, I'm looking for energy. If I find someone with good energy is a very fluid thing, you could use it in different perspectives. I'm happy to hold on to that person with high energy. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah? So thank you, that's just a little bit.
Well, think about this. There are people, you meet them, okay, they come into your life. It could be into an elevator, it could be in your office, it could be a casual hi in the corridor. But when you meet them, you feel happier, you feel hopeful, and you say, oh my God, there's more to me, and I need to do more. And on the other hand, there are some people you meet them, you're like, yuck, So I think it's extremely important to be exuding energy and positivity all the time. I want to keep on for some time. Any questions for the panel, please? Anybody? Any challenges at work? Any questions? I've got people like Shamsuka here. I've got Brother Haris here. I've got a lot of very senior people in this room. I would have loved to pull you all into the panel. Yeah, but unfortunately we don't have time. Any questions or ideas to share? Yes, Shamsuka.
I want to ask a question, just not only an employee side, an employer side of it. When you lay off, I would not even use the word for layoff. I use it myself, shrink to grow. Good one. So when you lay off, some people are emotionally completely paralyzed because of the relationship you have and all that thing. So I want to ask Mr. Banushi, how do you tackle it? Because it's a very sensitive issue, because they've been working with you for many years and you are shrinking to grow because the market deserves it. So how do you tackle it?
You asked the question, you said, shrink to grow. That's the answer. Actually, yeah, it's a tough moment always. And I think I love the answer which Emil gave here, is that is how you really convert that message to people. And all of us today in this life, they have a moment where you have a challenge and you go, we take it as a challenge, but that's a start for a new beginning. And it's a tough moment. I've been through it many times, and sometimes you just give it a reason from a management perspective. You say that because of this, but trust me, the opponent, this person sitting in front of you will never believe that. Because performance, they will always have excuses, or they always have justification why they're not right. Because the people compare by themselves, by others also, they always compare. So I think referring to performance management system and saying that we are laying off because of that will never justify the reason. The situation around you, let's say the economic situation, all thing, will not justify that. So the only justification that's there is that as we are getting the chance to do something better or a new challenge, and that's life. And that's my always philosophy, is that being positive about things and accept it as it is, because you don't know actually what that is for, whether it's negative or positive for you. You don't know what's coming up. So as a human, we are ready to accept the challenges as it is, then I think that the life will go on.
Thank you. I'd like to share a story from the Jumeirah group. I'm sure Ian would want. There was a decision taken during 2007-2008 that a certain number of people will have to be terminated. And the first call they took is, we're going to terminate managers, not the foot soldiers. Because who took the wrong decisions? The The managers took the wrong decision, so let's terminate them. Instead of just giving them the letter and telling them goodbye, they flew in recruiters from the UK. They conducted a career fair within the hotel, and I believe they made sure at least 50 to 60% of them were reabsorbed elsewhere. Yeah? So we need to put our hands together for that. So I think managers they have to have a heart as well. But let me also latch on to what the gentleman said. I think, looking from a spiritual angle, we are responsible for the effort and not for the results. I think we should leave results to God. So today, when I'm an employee, I do my best, probably get my bonuses and my promotion, but I leave that to God. I just do my best. Tomorrow I get a letter saying, Sangeet, you're out of a job. I go out on the street, hold my head held high, and start looking for a job. And do my very best at that. Because again, results are from God. So I think this is not the end of the world. I think anything that happens in life, we should ask a question. Is this the beginning or is this the end? Kerala faced a very ravaging flood. Was that the end of Kerala? Or is that the beginning of a new Kerala? I think that's the question we need to ask. You wanted to say something?
I think that's absolutely right. One of the biggest challenges we have, the economic environment, particularly in the Middle East, is adjusting to more international norms. You know, if you look at what I know more about, which is obviously the hospitality industry, it was only a couple of years ago the hotels in Dubai had an average occupancy of 80%. That's unheard of. That's simply unheard of. London has 63%. I think New York, Singapore, and others are similar. So for Dubai to have 80% is artificial, and as time passes, we end up with a situation where it naturally adjusts to be in a position to be successful in the future. But the problem that I see is we do have too many people who never think it's going to happen to them. They do not prepare. And part of the reason why they never prepare is because they never take ownership. So many people we see I think we mentioned the story earlier, I started as a driver and 25 years later I'm still a driver. We have recently introduced a retirement scheme, and I'm sorry to say some of the people who recently retired after literally 25 years of service were still painters or drivers or accounts receivable 25 years later. There was zero drive to increase your knowledge, increase your use to the company, and to be very honest, the return for the company. People don't feel that they can play an active role because they're comfortable. If we are, which we genuinely are in a situation now where workforces will reduce, yes, there are new hotels coming into the area, there'll be new banks, there'll be new airports, there'll be a number of things. But when you start over, you have the luxury of taking the creme de la creme, the very best, the motivated, the achieving. But if you're sat in an organisation and you're just waiting each month for the paycheck and you're not delivering a result, the problem sits with you. And one of the interesting slides that I think you put up about the engagement and 20% or so being very unengaged, I think from a management perspective, I think everybody would share this in the room, that probably 80% of your manager's time are spent on the 20% who aren't performing. And when you look at the 10 people and you're releasing 9, the question has answered itself, if I'm really honest.
Could I add a quick comment? What makes you feel that you are permanent? Who gave you this feeling? Isn't it? So I think the topic here is indispensable. So I always remind myself, I am dispensable. And I just tell my team, guys, this is just a phase. Connect with the energies. So this phase could go tomorrow, you could go tomorrow. We were not hired to say you're here for life. That's a fact. So we are disguising this by saying you'll be here for a comfort level of our own internal greed, and you've got to come out of that. It's our greed which says, of course you'll get promoted, I'm promising you, and that's what we promise that never turns out. That's what's created this whole impression. I mean, I've been through a very painful stage where some people have been said, well, you've got to go find alternatives. And those guys say, oh, but I have 2 kids in school. Well, the organization never said you've got to have 2 kids in school. So my take on this is, you guys got to sharpen, prepare. So if you look at what Ian said, or His Excellency said, or Sangeet said, a typist becomes So a person who was good in typing is today a member of several prestigious things in Sharjah, because that person had the ability not to take something as permanent.
Wow.
A gentleman who worked as a driver, valet, he dives, he does skiing, is today sitting in this position because he didn't think any one of those was permanent. So please don't be under this myth that you create, oh, there's a contractual obligation that I'm going. No, you're not. Everybody in this world is dispensable. You could be moved anytime and be prepared. That's the beauty. This is why the whole world was created. You got to go and experience it. Don't stick to yourself and say, oh, I'm going to only do that. I used to sell newspapers for Times of India in India because my father and me had a major difference on, he wanted me to be a doctor and I couldn't see blood. I would faint. And he said to me, I'm an engineer, my father is a huge bureaucratic officer. It's just such a shame. You want to go into management? It's rubbish. I want you to become a doctor. And I said to him, Dad, putting an injection through my own veins even for the doctor is a nightmare. I bite them. So, you're going to make a most incompetent doctor who will say, guys, somebody will do it for you. I couldn't do it. So he said, fine, I can't support your Bachelor of Business Management degree. Do it for yourself. So I worked for Times of India as a market research executive. 4:30 in the morning, I used to take my bicycle, go to the depot, collect the newspapers, convert out of 20 customers, at least 10 or 12 into Times loyalists. That's how I earned it. So I'm not saying this to show off, but then this is how it is. There's nothing permanent. I hope that makes some sense.
Yeah, and gentlemen, ladies, if you think this is not practical, if you look at the success stories of most of the Malayalis in the Gulf here, you've got a lot of literature that comes up here. I personally know that many of them started off as office boys, and now they are heads of conglomerates that span across the world. So we've got a lot of amazing success stories there. Shoes are there to fit in. We just need to be there. Okay, so the models are there. I'll have, yes, for the house, yeah.
I fully agree to what Mr. Amit said. This comfort
I
zone-
love you forever.
The reason is that the comfort zone factor, like we all create and say that we are indispensable. That's the comfort zone. Oh, sorry. The comfort zone. I was fortunate enough to manage people as well as, be a team player in some other way. So when we tell our teammates, especially I had this experience, I was transferred from Dubai and posted in Delhi for a short period. So I had a 9-member team, and my performance was based on how the team performs as usual. Plus, one of the targets given was I needed to ensure that at least 2 trainings are conducted in a year for each person. And it's in my performance appraisal, my boss will take it. So I used to tell them, go for trainings. The company is paying for it. Nobody is interested. No, I'm not joking. And because everybody is in their comfort zone. Like, okay, I have a car, I have an apartment, and I have a nice, cushy paid job. Why should I learn more? So you're forcing them to go to big institutions like IIM, free, but nobody was taking. So we made it a mandatory thing that you have to go, otherwise you will not be appraised correctly. Like that means you don't get your bonus. But to get out of this comfort zone that we create for ourselves, that nobody is indispensable, is right. Because in today's world, there is nothing called permanency. You can be fired anytime. Your boss can, the organization can, be bought, be sold, be merged. In my career, for the last 26 years, in Middle East, I've seen enough corporate mergers and acquisitions. In one company I joined, after 3 weeks, we had a small meeting, a town hall meeting. And my boss said to me, hey, we are getting acquired by another company. So this is the kind of thing we need to be aware of, and we need to be enhancing our skill set in whatever area you are. That's the only way. And as His Excellency Mr. Varushi said, multitasking, putting on, come whatever in your way, take it. So these kind of things are what you help in your career to make bulletproof or whatever you say, Sangeet.
To stay afloat. Thank you, Brother Harsh. We'll have time for one question, and if they could make it quick. You have a question? Okay.
Yeah, because the panelists talked a lot about the skill development. So when it comes to choosing the one person, like the question is that there are 2 types. One is the technical skills and the soft skills, the attitude and all that comes under that. in terms of percentages, how much you would give for the technical skills and how much you would give for the soft skills?
Important question.
I think in the industry, the hospitality industry, I think I would be looking at very high levels of soft skills. Attitude is almost everything. Yes, we have some technical environments, particularly in engineering and cookery and so on, but I can teach people, and we've done this, we can teach people to become very highly skilled chefs. It takes a little while, but we can do that. Only if the attitude's there. One of the best chefs we have is a young lady who started off as a public area housekeeper. She is now a sensational chef. Hard work, brilliant ethic, and a great teacher to other junior chefs. So I would say it's going to be in the region of 85% is going to be attitude, if not more.
So you're saying technical skills can be developed,
Correct.
but the soft skills attitude, it has to come from inside.
Yes.
No, I think what Ian said is we need to focus more on developing soft skills because it's easier to impart technical skills. Yeah?
Yes.
I don't think it's about coming from inside.
From my side, it's very much the right person with the right attitude will then achieve the learning, will then achieve the additional time that's required to actually develop those technical skills. But if you have the wrong attitude, it's the flat tire of a car, you're not going anywhere.
May I just add one little thing to the technical question that was asked? So please stop segregating between the two skill sets. This segregation has caused a huge problem in the business technology, information technology era. Today, those industries are the first one to react and say, if we have a technician who has a customer interface, our company is suffering because he doesn't have the soft skills. So stop segregating, integrate them. So the word is integration, not segregation. That's what I would look for.
Before passing to you, Brother Jason, I think Richard Branson was asked a question. What do you do? What's that skill that you look at when you recruit pilots for your flights? He said, I look at people who smile. Because I can teach a person who smiles to fly a plane, but I cannot teach a person who flies a plane to smile. And so I think that quite sums it up. Yes, sir. What do you think? Soft skills or technical skills?
Well, I think I totally agree with Amit here that we don't want to talk about this, take a long time on that. And this comes to your slide where you mentioned there that 20% only performance that shows there. And that's exactly leaves a room for a lot of argument. While what's required is that how much you will deliver at your workplace, how much you will really perform in the workplace. That whether this is soft or technical, it's integrated together so that they can end up serving a purpose, which is your objective in the organization. That's, I think, what but at the same time, I would like to emphasize on one thing very important. I think all of us people leaders today is our voice, is our communication, is the way we talk to each other. I think that's the only soft skill. And by the way, that's the only soft skill being in the skill sets since the beginning of humanity until today, and to go on for 21st century is going on, which is how you talk with people and how you really communicate with them. And of course, when I say communication, it doesn't mean about talking or public speaking. I mean here being positive, having a positive answer to each other, and having that mindset that I'm always win-win situation, that I should not harm the person in front of me. I should not say something that really makes him feel that he's less than me. Other things, I mean, could be very common in many cultures, is gossip. We do gossip a lot. By the way, that gossip, for me, it gives an impression that, this guy is really in that world, is spending a lot of time for nothing. Another thing would be complaining. Ibrahim knows that I hate complainers. I really hate complainers. And you know that there's a radio in Sharjah, Dubai, where people complain. I never listen to this channel. For one reason, not because I don't want to see their problem, but I hate people keep on complaining. Because today the forum is that about how much you did for that. But of course, there are some complaints. We have to complain. We have to say what's inside, but don't make it a nature that you always complain. while looking for answers, for solution within you to solve these problems. So I think communication, again, that skill, I think it will last forever in all of us.
Thank you. I think the key word is behavioral flexibility. When a little one wants a candy and he comes to dad and says, "Dad, can I get a candy?" Dad says no. Is she going to stop? She's not going to stop. Plan B. Okay, sulk. Is that going to work? No. Plan C. Go to mom. Does it